All right, welcome back. So today we're going to be working with while loops. So while loops they just keep going until a certain condition is met and then it'll stop. So a lot of times I've used this is whenever I'm like needed to count something, needed something to loop a certain amount of times in order for something to work or finish. So in this case, we'll just do something small and we'll use it to count. So right now, we're going to create a variable called count, and it's going to equal 1. And now we're getting ready to start on the syntax of the while. So if you don't know what syntax means, it's just basically the structure of how you create a certain line of code in programming. So to do a while loop is you need to type out the word while, and then you need to give it a condition for it to keep looping until that condition is met or broken, and then it'll stop. So right now I want this to keep looping through the code that is within the while loop until the count is greater than 5. So right now my count is 1, and I want it to keep looping while count is less than 5. So the structure of a while is you have the while, and then you give it a condition until you give it a condition, and then you finish it out with a colon. So, and then also too, you have to indent. If you don't indent the code underneath the while, you're gonna get an error. So I want to print out the value of what count is. So print, then count. And then once I get done printing that out, I want to add 1 to the count. So let's just do count equal to plus 1. So what this will do here is we got a variable called count, and it's equal 1. While count is less than 5, it's going to print out what the value of count is, and then it's going to set count to itself and then add 1 to it. So right now count is 1. So when the first time this runs, it's going to print out count, which will be 1, and then it's going to set count, which is 1, equal to 1 plus 1. So count will then have the value of 2. So the next time it loops around, count is going to be 2, and then it's going to have 2 count equal to 2 plus 1. Then it'll be 3. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So as you can see here, it counted all the way through. Now what ended up happening here is why you don't see the value 5 is because count, which would have been 5, is not less than 5. If we wanted to be able to display 5, we'd have to do less than or equal to in order for 5 to pop up here in the list of numbers. So let's go ahead and do that and then take a look. So as you can see here, now we got all the way up to 5. So the way this works, break it down again. So we got a variable here called count, and it equals 1. Now what we want the while loop to do is we want to keep looping through the code until count is less than or equal to 5. While that is taking place, this code within the while loop is going to keep executing until count is less than or equal to 5. So which means we print out the value, and then we want to set count equal to itself and then add 1. So that is what's going on here. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the syntax of the while. So in the while loop, you have to indent the code or else you're going to get an error. And whenever you are done and getting ready to get out of the while loop, you want to make sure the next line of code is back indented, or not back indented, back all the way to the left, or 1 indent space over. So whenever you have a while loop, you indent 1 space for all of the code that's going to be within that while loop. And whenever you're ready to get out of the while loop, you want to unindent back. So this code right here at the bottom is not within the while loop. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this out just to show what I'm talking about. So print, this is in the while loop. This is not in the while loop. This is not in the while loop. So if you understand this correctly, I guess take a moment, pause the video, try to figure out what's going on. But I'm going to keep moving forward. But if you understand what is going on with the while loop here, is you will know that this while loop is going to keep printing this statement 5 times until this count is less than or equal to 5. So that is what's going to happen here within the loop. And then this statement here is going to print out 1 time. All right, so let's take a look to see what happens. Whoops. Oh, I know exactly what I did wrong. So that is what will happen. That works out perfectly for me to explain it. So a while loop here. The while loop is just going to keep looping and looping and looping if you don't meet the condition. So that's what I was saying earlier. So you got to have a condition. It's going to keep looping until the condition is met or broken. So in this case here, we want to set the count equal to itself and then add 1. So also too, don't let that while loop just keep going, because if you do, eventually your computer's going to get really hot and probably just end up crashing and burning, whatever. So what you want to do is make sure you set the count, increment the count. So what we should see here now is this is a while loop and we should see it 5 times. And then we should only see this statement 1 time. As you can see here, what we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 for the last print statement. So that is going through what a while loop is.